So part 2 of the Star Rail collab has come out, and I will say this is, from a character and story perspective, a massive improvement, and it seems like they actually cooked a bit more with this one. I think you'll definitely come out enjoying this one a bit more than the other if you enjoyed it at all. Now, this takes place post Fate Stay Night, so while yes, it is a Unlimited Blade Works collaboration, it's only that in the sense that this is a version of UBW Ren farther in the future, and as we learn later on from Saber, that she's not from the same timeline as Saber, meaning both are from different UBWs, just to clarify. So Ren, on her travels to find a world line where magic wasn't drying out, because for those who don't know, in the world of Fate, in the modern era, magic is drying out, meaning magecraft isn't possible to use. At a certain point, Fate actually goes into this a lot, so Ren is trying to find a world where that isn't happening. So she's traveling across world lines and somehow finds herself in the world of Honkai Star Rail on Plan Arcadia, where there is no magical energy, and her magical energy is currently low, so she doesn't have what it takes to get out of this world to continue on her journey back to her own. But because we have a Holy Grail, she decides to steal the Holy Grail that I guess was put on display at the place where Star Rail Fest occurred in previous patches. Now, because this is Plan Arcadia and they have wish power, the Grail doesn't gather magical energy but wish power. So Ren tries summoning a servant and we end up getting the Trailblazer. So now instead of being the master, you are the servant, because now we have an Imagine Holy Grail war. The reason this is happening is because on the Grail, Ren made a wish and that became reality, essentially recreating the Grail war similar to that of the one from Fuyuki and Unlimited Blade Works, essentially becoming a imaginary or fake Holy Grail war. And on top of that, a day prior, Gilgamesh's treasures fell from the sky in a golden rain and spread across Plan Arcadia. So our goal is to gather those treasures to fill up the Grail. Ren, at some point, was observed and blessed by Ishtar, given her earrings, which also allows Ren to have access to Ishtar's power and her noble phantasm, but it comes at a cost of 10 gems with 10 years worth of magical energy to use Ishtar's noble phantasm. And as far as Ren's concerned, since Ishtar is in another dimension, as long as Ishtar isn't looking her way, she doesn't have to pay to use Noble Phantasm, which explains how she uses it in the gameplay itself, and thus how it doesn't contradict the story where she uses it once. Now, within this story, other characters are in the same position as the Trailblazer, where those who you would think would be masters end up being servants. So overall, we have a more relevant cast of characters for this story, as well as some old characters coming back because of the concept of Imagine, thus characters from Amphoria for a short time get imaginative bodies for the sake of this war, so we get to see them return and spend more time with them, reminisce on the past for those who have at the very least gotten into Amphorius. Now, the first big thing to happen in the story is that you get to see that Castorus, the demigod of death in Amphorius, is here, and she is being forced to act like a QC streamer by one of the masks of Sparkle called Sparksy. Sparksy in this case, as far as we know, who is the master, while Castorus is the rider's servant. Now, of course, Castorus, if you know, doesn't have the personality type for this type of thing, so of course this is used for the sake of comedy at her own expense, and it's actually pretty cute in English and Japanese. So while Ren and the Trailblazer go on searching for treasures all around Plan Arcadia to fill the Grail, again not with magical energy but wish power, which hopefully can be used so Ren can somehow get back to her world, Sparksy is using these streams as a way to not only gather the treasures without doing any of the work, but also have the other participants come together and take each other out. Of course, there's another character that is doing this as well, showing that Sparksy is pretty much the Act 1-ish villain. Now, because Ren is stuck in this world, at some point before the whole war happened, she was feeling very down about herself, getting stuck in this predicament, feeling like she wasn't good enough as a Tosaka. And we do get to go into a little bit more of how she feels about her family lineage, wanting to respect the name and lineage of the Tosaka because her father, someone who was never going to achieve great things, it was probably better off at being just a regular guy, still chose, knowing it's going to be hard, to go down the path of a mage, and she herself wants to honor that in the best way she can and be her best. But of course that comes with expectations and moments of vulnerability. As a result, Ren ended up creating an imagine that was essentially the perfect version of herself, what she wished to be. And that is the body that Ishtar would then later possess, because part of Ishtar's consciousness was inside the earrings that Ren was gifted. And Ishtar does want to fulfill Ren's wish, thus she's using the wish power by gathering faith to then convert that into wish power, use that to not be restrained by the imagine body and be reborn as a true goddess, because myths are the oldest type of story, and thus they are a perfect fit for something like Planet Arcadia, where stories, which are usually fueled by imagination, if they're strong enough, can become real, trying to game the mechanics of Planet Arcadia, wish power, and imagine. Sparksy this whole time was actually being used by Ishtar to get masters and servants to clash with each other to start culling the numbers. As I said before, Sparksy had a similar idea, but she wanted to use this easier for her to eventually use the Grail and use that wish power to get herself back into the Phantasmoon games after her loss in the first patch of Plan Arcadia. We later find out that Sparksy was in fact not the master of Castoris, which is a reference how Shinji in Fate Stay Night wasn't the true master to Ryder, and was using an item called the Book of the False Attendant to hijack and make a new contract with a servant. The original master of Castoris was her younger sister, Palixia. So when they do end up confronting Sparksy, Ishtar decides to make her appearance, and we find out she is partnered with Archer, which is why we haven't seen him up to this point. Ishtar, feeling she's fine on her own, wants to deal with Sparksy as well as with Ren, sends Archer to go after Ashvale, who, similar to Trailblazer, is in servant position, and Ashvale's master, Mr. 1 Week, who you'll know who that is if you've completed Penacony. And Ashvale would eventually, after this event, dissolve his contract with Mr. 1, whose body was imaginated, and thus he would end up fading over time, which is kind of the reverse in Fate, where servants are the ones who are made with magical energy, so without a master, they themselves will fade. So interesting flip of things in that sense. Ishtar promises that she would fulfill Ren's wish, but she'll do it with a twist in her own way without contradicting the promise itself. Thus, she wants to become stronger and be the better Ren that Ren desired to be. So after the 7 days of this Imaginary Holy Grail War, she will sacrifice the lives of Planet Arcadia to become a deity. Though she hasn't decided what path she would follow, she did consider the beauty or the elation, alternatively considering creating a new path called the Tosaka. So she demands that Ren hand over the Grail and stop resisting, but of course Ren's not gonna do that. So Castoris intervenes, and Ishtar, figuring this won't matter in the long run, decides to back off and let things be for now. Though she will, and says she could take it back now, but nothing they can do will stop her plan anyway. After the group comes together in the office, they discuss what happened and figure out Ishtar wants to use the Grail and the Sword of Power to make her imaginary body instead of a true divine body. And for now, she can't do anything due to the limitations and limited lifespan of the current imaginary body. So they have until day 7 to figure something out. Meanwhile, Ishtar ended up meeting with and recruiting Argenti, a Knight of Beauty, to her side. Ren and Trailblazer do end up facing him, and after a fight, they try to tell him that Ishtar tricked him. But Argenti wasn't tricked at all, because Ishtar didn't lie to him at all. She was very honest and truthful with him. And according to him, he could see that Ishtar's actions and words are honest, wanting scheming to fulfill Ren's wish and find Ren's precious thing. We then move to Perlix Corporation, where we end up meeting Castor and Polixia, who we do some bonding with, looking around to find the right away from home gift for them. Ren, seeing them, thinks of Sakura and herself through those two. And at the end of it all, the two sisters, wanting to help Ren, decide to turn themselves into magical energy and tell her that there's actually a second Grail in this war. We then move to Graphia Academy, where Saber reveals that she did in fact meet Ishtar, but Ishtar didn't try to fight or hurt them because she doesn't want to hurt anyone. She just wants the treasures to build up power. The second Grail is actually one of the treasures, the Great Goblet of Uruk, and decides to use magical energy within this Grail to form a countermeasure to this current war because they can't use wish power, because this war itself is already using wish power, so it'd still just be following the same rules. They need something that can oppose Ishtar and the current rules that this war is functioning by, using magical energy as a Grail probably should be. So Ren was able to gather all the command spells onto her and formate an anti-divinity bounded field. When everyone was ready to roll out, they go to where Starofest took place, where this whole incident started for the Trailblazer to face Ishtar. Teaming up, they fight against Ishtar, who gives Ren a chance to stop resisting and give up her body. Everyone teams up to release their strongest moves to finish off the goddess, one after another, until Ren uses the magical energy from the second Grail, using Ishtar's Noble Phantasm and the Trailblazer's Noble Phantasm, with Archer's help to project the Astral Express and shoot it from Ishtar's Boat of Heaven, aka her bow, and shoot it at the goddess, with Ishtar chaining her down with Enkidu and finishing us off once and for all with Enuma Elish. And yes, they did reuse assets with the Aquila boss, but I think this is definitely more fitting when you consider what Ishtar is the goddess of, what Aquila is the titan of, being the skies, in other words, the heavens. And let's be honest, if Star Rail is gonna use assets for their own original stuff, why wouldn't they do it for collab stuff? Ishtar finally accepting her defeat, and Ren, being the forgiving girl that she is, says she is going to go back, but she'll also be taking Ishtar with her, and that's a promise. Ishtar does congratulate Ren on finding her most precious thing at the end of this journey, which was the strength, even if it's difficult, even if she loses stuff, to move forward. Something that comes with gain and loss, because Ren also learned from Ishtar's myth that even in this journey, if she's lost everything on the path that she chooses to take, she'll eventually take everything back one by one eventually. A little bit of time passes, and after saying their farewells to the other servants, Trailblazer ends up meeting Ren at Graphia Academy, where the two met during Ren's summon. Ren says the magical energy from the Grail is bottomed out, but thanks to Castor and Polixia and her pendant she has of magical energy to find her way back and continue on her journey. This shared experience was precious to her and something that she will remember, giving us a cartridge with legally distinct Fate Stay Night on it before departing to the next world, and the Trailblazer giving her a copy of Fluffy Across the Blue, which, if you don't know, is the comic based around the Trailblazer's journey so far. Overall, I think this was better than the first collab story. That one was probably them testing the waters, trying to do a more simple Holy Grail story. But here, it only feels like the characters belong more, and that the story is built around one of the new characters, specifically being Ren, and goes into the unique relationships that this character has, having comparisons through other characters, and allowing us to learn more about the character of Ren herself. I do believe this story could not happen without the current cast of Ren, Gilgamesh, or Ishtar, which I can't say for the previous one, where you probably could replace other characters, and who that character is doesn't exactly have the biggest impact on the story that's being told. The story story also doesn't have any Scott either for character reasons, of course, if you know what happens to him in the story. And I do think Scott, while I do enjoy him at times, is one of those characters that's appropriate for comedic relief in small doses, but maybe not great to be used in a story, especially as a main antagonist within said story, even if it's just for a little bit. If you're a Fate fan and know Fate Stay Night, Fate Grand Order, or Babylonian specifically, there are in fact references and familiar terms thrown around, so you could get something out of that too. For the HSR onlys, the story does offer up terminology to explain and compare to what we know in Honkai Star Rail, so you understand what the characters are talking about. For example, talking about the paths and the route being explained as being similar, but where in Fate, mages try to reach the origin point, because the older things are, the stronger they are, because they're more mysterious. In HSR, you try to find the end of the path to see what's at the peak of it, and you get stronger through accumulating more knowledge and experience. So I don't think anyone should be getting too lost in the terminology side of things. Looking back, I realized where part 1 fell short. Besides the execution of what could have been good ideas and the over or underuse of characters, this felt like it was more obviously about something, a story in service of the character it was focusing on, giving them not only screen time but presence, that ended up reaching what I feel was a satisfying enough conclusion. And the war itself wasn't just there to push things forward, but also in service of Rin's character, in ways connecting back to her and helping her move forward, allowing us to learn more about her as a character. So even if you're not a Fate fan, you should come out with some understanding of her character, and that is a good thing I think part 1 just didn't have. But what did you think of this event? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're at it, maybe check out some other videos.